Welcome to the Etihad Cargo Connections with Turn Furlongs magazine. I'm your host today, Aurelian Drimian. Joining us today, George Baker, an accomplished horse trainer known for his expertise in selecting and training top-tier horses. Today, we'll discuss his upcoming race in the Bahrain Turf Series, where he plans to showcase 7 of his best horses. We will learn about his strategic approach, meticulous selection process, and innovative training techniques. We'll also explore the role of technology in modern horse racing. And finally, we'll uncover the insights and strategies behind George Baker's successful career in elite horse training. George, great to have you here again.
Very good to see you. Very good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning. So, George, how do you feel about your 7 horses and their chances of success in the Middle East?
Well, we've the Bahrain Turf Series is a new but wonderful innovation. It started last year. This is the second year of the Bahrain Turf Series. We've had horses running in the kingdom for the last 3 years, and it's just at this time of year, racing on turf in the sunshine for good prize money. It's really just something that we felt was a very obvious place to set up a satellite yard and to have horses on a semi-permanent basis. But importantly, our owners bought into the concept. You know, it's very competitive racing, but it's also for horses that are rated up to 100. So it's horses that are probably just below group and pattern level. They're top quality animals, but maybe animals that would be horses that would be running around here for lesser prize money, and to be able to fly them to Bahrain and run around. For every race has a guaranteed prize fund of $80,000. There are various prizes for the top jockey and the top trainer and the top horse. And of the 21 international horses that are in the kingdom this morning, we have 7 of them. So that's great. We've sort of really embraced it, and our owners have embraced it. And as I say, I'm sitting here in the UK thinking about my runners tomorrow at Lingfield and Kempton and Wolverhampton. I'm looking forward to being back in the Bahraini sun already.
I can imagine. Wow, 7 horses is pretty amazing indeed, for sure. George, can you provide some insight into your criteria for selecting the horses to race in Bahrain Turf Series, especially, and maybe
Absolutely.
also?
Well,
sorry,
we had a decent winter there last year. We took 3 horses over. 2 of them won. One of them was second in another race. So they all paid their way over there, and that just gave us a taste for the type of horse you need there. And you need to travel any horse. It's got to be resilient mentally and physically. The turf course is in great condition, but it's pretty fast ground. It's high summer ground in the UK as by comparison. You know, they race on what we would describe as good to firm, or maybe even faster. So you need sound horses. You need horses that obviously you wouldn't take a mud lover over there. It's not going to rain very often in the desert. So when we got back here, having had a decent winter there last season, from March onwards, we were really putting together a team to fly. They flew 10 days ago, and yeah, it's been attending the various horses in training sales, looking to buy horses privately, liaising with our owners, putting together syndicates. So it's been a sort of 9-month plan. It wasn't something that just happened overnight, but it really grew because of the success of the 3 horses last year, and to be taking 7 over there is fantastic, and testament to, you know, the year the team had over there last year, the hard work of the team, but also the ongoing support of our owners who've bought into the concept.
Perfect. Wow. So depending where you go around the world, the selection might be different, right?
Very much so. You know, it depends on the ground conditions. We've raced horses everywhere around the world. We've raced in Dubai, we've raced in Istanbul, we've raced across Europe and America. And actually, yes, your point is very pertinent at the moment, because whilst we've got 7 horses going racing in the Turf Series in Bahrain, and we have 2 horses going to race on the frozen lake in St. Moritz in February, which is a wonderful race, the white turf race up the mountain in St. Moritz, and a race we won 3 years ago, and we've got 2 good horses going there again. So yes, the criteria from the snow to the desert are very, very different, but it's an understanding of the ground conditions, the type of horse you need, obviously the race conditions, the distance of the races. In Bahrain, they have 5 furlong and 6 furlong races for one group of horses, and 9 furlong and 10 furlong horses races for another group of horses. So our 7 are split equally, sort of 3 in one pot and 4 in the other. So yeah, you adapt to the program book that is in front of you and try and find the right horses. And you know, we've always had the mantra of have horse will travel, because we love traveling our horses, and our owners love the enjoyment of racing in different racing jurisdictions around the world. It's great fun on all of it. It's great fun more fun if you win, obviously. So you don't just go there for the sunshine or the snow. You want to go there with horses that have viable winning options. So yeah, that's really how we put together the team, you know, and it's just a lot of hard work and a lot of luck. You need sound horses, and you need to keep the horses sound and happy and healthy to make it work.
Excellent. Now, I'd like to talk more about your experience and what you learned from your experience. So, George, you've trained many international runners and winners, like we talked about, and you've been in many racing jurisdictions globally around the world. What are the learnings from your experience that you have applied to prepare the horses for the Bahrain Turf Series?
I think it's like everything we do in life. With experience comes knowledge, and when you first take a horse to Dubai, or you know, when we first took 2 horses to Bahrain 2 winters ago, it's a massive learning curve. But the most important thing about being on a learning curve is that you do learn, and you listen, and you react, and you adapt. And so I think it's really you've just got to have a big open mind, be very, very open-minded about everything, not going out there to these foreign jurisdictions with a set plan, because if you don't know anything about the conditions that you're going to be racing on, or the different climate and everything, you just have to be prepared to go out there with a very open mind, and as I say, react and adapt to the conditions. And you know, it's but then again, probably the most important criteria for us is being able to have owners who have the imagination to buy into the whole concept. And to be honest, you know, whilst it's great for us, I am slightly surprised with 21 international horses in Bahrain running around for this decent prize money in a lovely climate and environment, that we have 1/3 of the total number of international runners. It's so without being rude about my peers, many of whom are brilliant trainers, I'm delighted that they haven't got the imagination, or they haven't got owners with the imagination to send their horses to these far-flung places.
I can imagine, for sure. So we got Get It, Danger Alert, Iwano, Simply Sandherm, Lucinder, Grenius, and Sir Winston. Which races are they going to be entering in?
Okay, so 4 of them ran last Friday, the first meeting in the 1.25 mile race. Lucander finished 3rd, beaten probably about 1 3/4 lengths, and Simply Sondheim was 5th, just a neck behind him. So they were 2 very good runs straight off the airplane, because the horses only landed in the kingdom on Monday and were racing on Friday. So I was delighted with both of those. Lucander was a complete star for us over there last year. He won one of the Turf Series races, and then he won the Sheikh Nasser Trophy at the end of the season. A horse who we bought for £60,000, and he won over £130,000 in Bahrain last winter. So he's been an absolute superstar for us, and I was delighted with his first run on Friday. He got a little bit tired. If we'd had another week, if the race was this week, I would have been very confident. As it was, we were hopeful rather than confident, but he ran a huge race, and he will come on for that. So he'll run most likely at the next meeting at the end of December, and then on through the series. Simply Sondheim, likewise, delighted with that run. We probably will try and keep them apart for the remaining 4 series races, maybe run them in 2 each, dovetailing through the through those races. Sir Winston, he'll run at the end of the month. He's also in that 9 furlong, 10 furlong group. A very talented horse who we bought from Roger Varian. He hasn't raced for us, but like Simply Sondheim, was bought specifically for this series. And then in the sprint division, well, sorry, we have Granier as well in the 9 furlong, 10 furlong race. He's been an absolute star for us. He was a group performer way back as a 3-year-old when trained in France, and then he was with us a few years back, and then his owner moved him back to France, and we bought him at a Tattersall's Horses in Training sale for about £5,000 a couple of years ago, and he's done brilliantly this summer in the UK, winning big races at Sandown and also at Kempton, and being placed well. So he's now 7 rising 8, but he seems to be having, he's in the form of his life. So those 4 will all run in the 9 furlong, 10 furlong races, with a view to also looking at options in Saudi Arabia as they come along, and also in Doha, and possibly up into well, down to Dubai if appropriate. So we've basically got these horses with the core plan of running them in Bahrain, but definitely with the option of running in the other Middle Eastern racing jurisdictions. And then the other 3 horses are Kiwano, Danger Alert, and Get It. They will run in the sprint division races. Kiwano and Danger Alert ran on Friday. The race was over 5 furlongs. It was too short for them, but it was more just blowing away the cobwebs off the aeroplane. They ran fine. They weren't disgraced at all, but they will be they will come on for those runs. And as I say, it was just to get them out on the track and blow away the cobwebs. And Get It will most likely contest the sprint races through the rest of and they might all 3 of them might run in all the races, and take each other on. But sprinters tend to spend most of their careers beating each other. If you look at these sprinters, they race against each other through the summer and through the turf season here, and they take it in turns and beating each other. And look, hopefully they can. Obviously they've got to beat one another, but hopefully that they can beat the other opposition as well. And yeah, so 4 in the 9 furlong, 10 furlong, and 3 in the sprint division, but with the core plan being the Bahrain Turf Series, but with our mind very much focused on other options in the region whilst the horses are there through until the end of February.
That's great. Are you concerned about any particular contenders?
The opposition is very competitive, yes, which is great. This is not. And the UK and Irish horses that have gone over are all quality animals. You have to be quality to be invited. You've got to be really rated 90 to 100, which is at a decent level here. And the local horses, they're local in name, but many of them have raced in the UK or across Europe, and at a high level. The local trainers, Alan Smith and Fauzi Nas and Jabba Rabadan, and they're a very talented bunch of trainers, and they source a lot of their horses at the international sales, whether it's Tattersall's here or Arcana in France or further afield. So they are very, very keen to have us there, but they are also very, very keen to beat us, which is great. So it creates a great atmosphere at the races, where we've become great friends with a lot of the Bahraini trainers and owners, and yeah, it's friendly rivalry as it should be. But specific horses to look out for, it's very hard because a lot of the international horses are there for the first time. You're not quite sure how they will cope with it, and the local trainers are upping the game all the time. We were lucky to as I say, to win 3 races over there last winter, and they shook my hand through gritted teeth, but so they're determined to beat us this time, which is as it should be. So yeah, there are no easy races. They tend to be 14 to 18 runner races. So it's very competitive sport, but it should be for the prize money on it.
It should be, I guess. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Are you feeling any pressure about taking Lukander continuing his winning streak into Bahrain?
There's always pressure in this game, and sometimes I'm appalling at coping with it. Sometimes I'm better at dealing with it. It sort of tends to that's pretty binary. It's how the horses are running, and if the horses are running well, it's easier to cope with the inevitable disappointments when they come along. But no, Lucander was, as I say, an absolute star for us last year. He did well here in the UK without winning. He ran well at Royal Ascot, ran very well at Epsom on Derby Day. And then we gave him a break to freshen him up for this meeting. So yes, when you've got a horse like him, his face is on the front of the brochure, the Bahrain
Oh,
brochure,
wow.
and he is emblazoned across the grandstand in Bahrain. So that's a good sign. It must mean that we've been doing something well. If one of your horses is on the grandstand, now we just need to make sure that he's back on the grandstand next year. And look, delighted with the way he ran the other day. If he can retain that form through the season, he will definitely pay his way. And the Neom Cup in Saudi Arabia on the Saudi World Cup night would be. It would be lovely if he could end up there. He very nearly went there last year, but there was sort of quarantine protocols that we couldn't quite work around. But hopefully this year they've all been it's been made a little bit easier. So yes, if everything went brilliantly with him, I would hope that he could end up in Saudi for that big meeting at the end of February.
Fair enough. Let's talk a bit about technology. What role do you think technology is playing in your training methods, and how have you seen it evolve over the years?
I think that's a fascinating question. I think every single trainer in the country across the world will have different ways of doing it, and I think it's a combination between the old-fashioned factors of just looking at your horses, and you can tell when your horses are well, and watching them on the gallops, and just seeing their general demeanor, seeing the brightness of the eye, and the wellness in their coats, and that's what trainers have looked for time immemorial, forever and a day. But then aligned with that, now we have the opportunity of using heart monitors, of using the very best veterinary advice, when it comes to scoping horses and testing their bloods and everything. So it's very much a mixture for me of, whilst embracing all the science and all the tools that are available now, whilst at the same time realizing that the old-fashioned principles shouldn't be thrown out the window. It's a mixture of the old and new, and just being able to use and all the tools that are available to you to give yourself the best possible chance, because that everybody else out there is doing exactly the same. And everybody, if you walked onto any training yard, whether it's in Newmarket or Dubai or Bahrain or Saratoga, everyone will have their different ways of doing things, and that's part of the charm of the one thing we can't do, sadly, is put a new engine in a horse. But what we can do is hopefully we can maximize their potential, and sometimes their potential will be at a lower level, but the thrill of winning at a lower level for the owners is fantastic. Particularly if they're owner bred horses or whatever. But obviously at all levels, everything you can do to help yourself. So yes, heart monitors is something that we are embracing in terms of what they show about the horse's fitness, and then using everything and having a big wide open mind about it. I remember there's a little bit of name dropping, but it's relevant in the context that we've been lucky enough to train horses over the years for Sir Alex Ferguson, and I always remember him telling me when we first met that one of the reasons for his longevity and success in the game was that he listened to everybody, however mad the idea was or however mad the concept was. He never dismissed people out of court. He listened to everybody who had an idea, and he may not believe in the idea, but from within the idea, he might take a little bit of information that he could use and adapt. And I think that's you've just got to have a big open mind, and you can never ever say this is the way to do it, because it will evolve, and horses evolve, technology evolves, and you've just got to be able to as I say, listen to everybody, not necessarily take out absolutely everything on board, but be prepared to react and adapt as you feel necessary for your horses to give them the best possible chance.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any plans for any of your runners to race on within the GCC? Sort of like, I wish list for them for the season that maybe you could share with us today.
And most of these horses that are in Bahrain, they will come back to the UK.
Okay.
With a view to running at the bigger festival meetings here in through the spring and summer in the UK. But as I mentioned, yes, the Saudi World Cup meeting in Riyadh, that would fit well in that it's at the end of the Turf Series. So if come the beginning of February, these horses, a couple of our horses have gone up in the rankings and are and merit an entry into that big night in Riyadh, that would be fantastic. There's also the big sprint race in Doha in the beginning of February. If one of the sprinters could get up the rankings and be possible for that, that would be great. And also the program, the international program in Dubai is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, specifically, as I said at the beginning, we are geared towards having these horses racing in Bahrain, but at the same time, if they do progress and do well in Bahrain, then therefore opportunities further afield are going to become more viable, because the higher they go up in the handicap, the more chance they get of being invited to these bigger days. And so, yes, aspirationally, if the horses run well through the end of this month and through January, and we can be sitting down at the end of January and looking beyond Bahrain, that would be fantastic.
Great. If we focus on Bahrain and the GCC specifically, do you feel that the region is on its way to becoming an international destination that you would, pre-plan for?
100%, 100%. And that's why we are very keen to be there at the beginning. I feel that sort of the region is obviously, with the exception of Dubai, which is Meydan, as they've been doing fantastic things for the last 2 decades, but Doha and Riyadh and Bahrain, and yeah, there's a real sense that they want to be part of something very special, and the prize money on offer, the commitment of those people who are running these racing jurisdictions, and that they are definitely sort of forming a program that gives the opportunity for hopefully duality between the jurisdictions, and the opportunity for horses to move between them through the winter season, through our winter, through the UK winter season, to have horses over there and moving them around the GCC. And it just makes perfect sense. And and that's why we are delighted to be in at the beginning of something that is very exciting. And we've already traveled to Riyadh on a couple of occasions and met with Prince Bandar and David McKinnon, who's head of racing there, who has worked at Cheltenham Racecourse here in the UK, and their enthusiasm is tangible. And for us to be part of it is very exciting, and hopefully something that will evolve over the next few years.
Great. Let's go back shortly onto your ways of training and techniques. Could you share with us some details about your training philosophy and maybe any innovative techniques you employ?
Okay, I think a lot of what we do is trying to maintain a happy and relaxed atmosphere around the stables, because that definitely transmits through to the horses. I'm not pretending that happy horses are going to run faster than unhappy horses, but I do think it's very important that they are brought along within a calm and regime that gives them the opportunity to relax into their work and not be worried about their work, and to enjoy their work. And clearly, the most important thing to me is the exceptional team who I work with alongside, and I couldn't possibly do it without them. So you can have the best gallops in the world or the worst gallops in the world, but the absolute key is the people who ride your horses. And if you had the best facilities in the world but appalling riders, you'd have no chance. So we're very, very lucky to have a very strong team of riders, and their feedback is absolutely crucial to me. So I think that at the core of our training regime is interaction with all our staff. My door there behind me is always open. If people have something feeling about a horse. I want them to come and tell me. I want them to tell Patrick and Valerie, my assistant trainers, Barry, my head man. It's just got to be, communication is key, and just making sure that you give yourself the very best chance. So in terms of specific training techniques, our horses will be on the gallops here every single day. We do adopt perhaps a more patient approach than some trainers. We wouldn't be known for training instant action whiz-bang 2-year-olds that are here today, gone tomorrow. We put walking around the yard here, you'll see horses who have had long careers, horses who actually start peaking when they're 4 or 5 and can run on for longer, which is slightly different to a lot of people. Obviously, it's hard to compete in the present market, in the present yearling market. If you with the spending power of the big battalions, it's very hard to buy a yearling that gives you a real chance. Of course, you can get lucky, and there are wonderful stories every year of the cheaply bred horses who go on to do spectacular things. But our view in the last couple of years has been to more buy horses that have proven form already, that you can take to the big days, like Simply Sondheim, who we bought the other day at Tattersalls, like Sir Winston, who we bought earlier in the year. Get It, we bought him this time last year at Tattersalls cheaply, and he's won about 4 times what we paid for him. But so if you buy these horses that are already highly rated,
sure,
from other stables, and if they can benefit from the quieter regime here of a standalone stable, we're not in a training center. And also, you can, by buying horses that are rated 90 plus, you are guaranteeing your owners, if you keep the horses sound, you're guaranteeing them Saturday horses that are going to run at the bigger festival meetings. Whereas you go and buy a yearling, you need an awful lot of luck. And so that's just really the way our technique has evolved into sort of, training more of the sort of the horses with a longer term view. And so we don't have the small little 2-year-olds on the place. Of course, if we get sent them, it's an absolute joy, and we will do our best with them. But yeah, and it's just about, we've got lovely gallops here. It's building your horses up quietly, it's steadily, and then and we take them away for racecourse gallops at Kempton, which is not very far from here, and that gives us the opportunity to give them a proper blowout at a local racecourse. So it's all just feeling your way in with all the different horses. They all have, like humans, they have different characteristics, they have different weaknesses, and by weaknesses I mean some horses will have not the greatest backs, and you just have to be aware of that and manage it in the same way that there will be footballers or rugby players or tennis players out there who need constant putting back together and helping them to perform to the maximum. And it's the same with our horses. They are equine athletes, but a lot of the principles of all athletes is applied to them, I feel.
Great. It's very much also, like you mentioned, a team efforts and teamwork, especially.
Of course.
Great.
Of course, I think it is in every walk of life. If you can delegate, it means you're surrounded by the right people. And I sit here doing the crossword and reading the newspaper, leaving all the hard work to all the clever people out there.
That's good. So, George, out of all your impressive achievements, which one have been the most significant for you?
I think it does. One of the things that I'm proudest of is that we are renowned for pressing the gamble button when it comes to sending horses abroad. We've always done that, and I think looking at our CV and seeing big wins in, as I say, Dubai, Istanbul, St. Moritz, Bahrain, across the world, that gives me enormous pride. The fact, because it is hard here. It's very hard in the UK. It's very hard to compete against the big battalions. We've been lucky enough to have Royal Ascot winners and Glorious Goodwood winners, and winning at the big festivals, of course, is fantastic. But it is incredibly hard here, really hard and really competitive, and which is absolutely as it should be. But that, I think, is why. Well, I know that's why I've got several international program books strewn across my desk, and we're always looking for the opportunities abroad. And so, yeah, I think it's our international achievements that and the number of countries that we've actually had winners in, that gives me enormous pride in what we've achieved so far, and hopefully more to come.
Hopefully more to come, indeed. So you mentioned the challenges in the UK. What kind of challenges do you usually encounter as a trainer? You mentioned competition, and also how do you overcome them?
I think the challenges come down, yes, to the competition is a lot about that, is placing your horses correctly. I mean, obviously, when people buy a racehorse, they want to run it at Royal Ascot. They dream of running at Royal Ascot. They dream of running at the big festival meetings. The reality, of course, is that only a tiny percentage of horses will end up at the big meetings. So it's placing your horses is very, very important. The challenges here are, well, the challenges in the sport are the inevitable injuries, which are always tough to take. You're always going to get a percentage of your yard that is afflicted by something, and racehorses spend most of their lives finding reasons not to go racing, and so the injuries are tough, and obviously it's tough passing on bad news to your owners who they've got a lot of dreams tied up in these horses, and when you ring them up to tell them that their horse has got a tendon injury and needs a year off, obviously you're shattering a dream or three, but you're also dealing with your own disappointment. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge is dealing with that. I think managing owners' expectations. We are very lucky that we have a fabulous bunch of owners who have supported us, and it is a leisure choice for them. We have to remember that. They've decided to have a racehorse here, not because it's an essential part of their life, it's because it's a leisure choice. So we have to make it fun. So yeah, it's a challenge when your horse finishes 13th of 14 at Windsor on a Monday night. That's challenging to make it fun, but there are normally good bars and places that we can go and make the most of it. But, there is the inevitable challenge here right now of prize money in the UK is under pressure. There are several headwinds against the sport on that front, but again, that is another reason for looking to foreign shores and giving our owners the chance of a reasonable return on their investment, in inverted commas. Whereas here, I'm afraid, at the high level, at the top level, at the Royal Ascots and the Glorious Goodwoods and the Yorks and the big meetings, the prize money is fantastic. But when you go down to the shop floor and you're running around at the lesser meetings midweek, the prize money, you can win a race, and the prize money doesn't even cover a month's training fees. So that is a big challenge that our sport is facing at the moment. So yeah, again, another reason for us sending the horses abroad for the financial rewards, along with the wonderful opportunities of racing in foreign jurisdictions.
Wow. Definitely, the competition between different countries and, like you mentioned, prize money can really affect the sport in a specific country. Definitely.
Yeah, it's great, but I think all these burgeoning racing jurisdictions, of which Bahrain is definitely one, they're very keen for international competition, because that is the way to put yourself on the international map. That is the way to get yourself the media coverage. That's the way and Bahrain have done that superbly in the last couple of years, in the way that Dubai have done for decades. And I sense that Saudi Arabia is on the cusp of going the same way, and Qatar and who knows where else. But yeah, I think international competition is what these countries want. It's what they set out to do, and they want international recognition. They want their quality races to be recognized by the international pattern book. They want their top races to be group races, and to aspire to hosting Group 1 races, which Bahrain is very close to doing. I'm sure the Bahrain International Trophy, which is actually a Group 2, is had a quality Group 1 field in name this year. So yeah, international competition. I think it also, I don't want this to sound patronizing, I don't mean it at all, but for local trainers and jockeys, and I think it hopefully they benefit massively from seeing international horses on their racetrack training in the morning, talking to the foreign connections, and just growing their knowledge, and whilst we are growing our knowledge enormously by being and having those horses in Bahrain and across the Middle East, I hope at the same time that it is benefiting the local trainers and participants at the same time.
That makes sense. Talking about your inspirations, who inspired you in your early days and who inspires you today, George?
Well, I was effectively just a racing fan back in the day. There was no way I was ever going to train racehorses, and I always followed the sport passionately. I love most sports. There are very few sports that I won't watch, but racing was certainly right up there. And I would always go to the Cheltenham Festival and to Royal Ascot and to Glorious Goodwood. And back then, there's sort of the likes of the great heroes that are Henry Cecil, remarkable trainer, Sir Michael Stout, who is still training to this day. And then in of those people training today, you look up to the ones who are just brilliant at their trade. John Gosden, obviously fantastic trainer. Aidan O'Brien in Ireland, and you aspire to be half as good as these people, and you aspire to compete with them, and that is the wonderful magic. One of the magic things about this sport is that you can compete with your heroes. You can take on the big guns and the big battalions, and just occasionally you can beat them as well. So I think but anybody who's brave enough to take out a trainer's license must be inspirational in a way, because it's a tough old gig at times, but there are some brilliant people out there, and some very talented jockeys, and it's a great sport, but the horses are really what it's all about, and the wonderful the rhythm of the sport means that you get new heroes emerging every single year, and that is part of the great fun of it. Sadly, there isn't a Frankel who comes along every year, or See the Stars, or in the jumping game at Desert Orchid, but there are always great horses to follow, and it's a magical sport, and it's a privilege to be part of it.
Great. You talked about your heroes. Have you had any collaboration or partnerships that have really influenced you into your training methods?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, we were very, very much a very close friend of mine is David Loader, who trained for Sheikh Mohammed for a number of years. A very successful Newmarket trainer. Sensibly, he gave the game up a few years back, but when we started, he was absolutely brilliant in terms of advice. He would also ring me up and tell me what a fool I was if I was running a horse in the wrong race, or he was just right at the beginning, and he helped us with our initial yard up in Warwickshire, up in the Midlands here in the UK. David was absolutely instrumental in putting that gallop in and deciding where it should go, and just a very, very wise man, and his help at the outset was absolutely phenomenal, and guided us away from making we still make inevitably silly mistakes, and we always will do, but he hopefully has helped me along the way, and to evolve, and his wise words at the beginning were absolutely crucial. So I would say he was the sort of the biggest mentor.
All right, on to the last question, which I really enjoy, so that's why I'm really looking forward to that one. Could you share your thoughts on the future advancements and technological breakthrough that might shape the racing industry?
That's a tremendously good question. I do think that the internationalization, if that's a word, of racing is perhaps what we will see more and more of in the years ahead, because the advances in horse transport, the ease, the fact that we can send horses from the UK to race in Australia, and that I think is going to be a huge part of the future for this sport. The fact that people can race their horses globally, and that is only going to get better, and it's only going to become easier. I think the fact that there are, you know, the alluring prize money that so many of these racing jurisdictions are putting on is going to attract more international runners. So I think probably if I could put my finger on one aspect that is going to just grow and grow in the years ahead, it is exactly that the international program book is going to be embraced by more and more trainers from all around the world, and we're going to see, you know, highly competitive global racing in very many places around the world, and hopefully we can be part of that. I think it's exciting time, and I think obviously, you know, the technological angles are always fascinating. You know, how is AI going to impact on the way I train? Maybe I won't need to be here. Maybe it'll all be done by AI. I don't know. Look, it's always exciting looking forward, but at the same time, I think when you go forward, you've got to embrace what has worked in the past, and not just roar into the future thinking everything's going to change and be brilliant. You need to go into the future mindful of what has worked in the past, and reacting, adapting to the progress that is made, and benefiting from that progress as much as you possibly can.
Excellent. You have a very positive mindset towards, well, the past and the future as well. Many people complain and don't like it.
To be a racehorse trainer, you have to remain positive. It's the only way. It's the only way.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much, George. Thank you so much for the interview today.
Not at all, my friend. A great pleasure, and hopefully we will catch up soon.
I hope so too. I hope so too. Have a great rest of your day.
You're very kind. Thanks a lot, mate. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.